Are you ready to pack your bags and head out on a grand adventure? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to Big Blend's Road Trip Radio Show. Let's find out where we're going today. So welcome, everyone. You know we love a good road trip, and that's why we have a whole show dedicated to it. Big Blend Radio's Road Trip Radio Show. There you go. And Steve and Karen Wilson, you've heard them on Big Blend Radio every first Tuesday. They're here with the Adventures of Asheville show because they own a wonderful historic Victorian bed and breakfast in the heart of the Montfort Historic District in Asheville, North Carolina. But every year they go on a road trip and report back because they just really want to make us all jealous. Really, that's what it's about. They love travel. I encourage you to check out their website if you go to Asheville. It's lion-rose.com because they love lions, they love roses, and they do love bourbon, as you're going to hear. Today is all about a bourbon road trip. No, don't drink and drive, but this is going to be fun. They went through Kentucky on the Bourbon Trail. And of course, September is Bourbon Heritage Month. So we're going to make sure you know about some historic distilleries, one of them being Buffalo Trace. We're also going to talk about this being a pet-friendly road trip. As you can hear in the background, the dogs want you to know that this is pet-friendly. So there you go. We're going to go to Bourbon Barrel Cottages. We're going to hear more about what they do as a pet-friendly destination, Buffalo Trace. So we got some special guests. But first, Karen, how are you guys doing out in Asheville?
We're doing good. How about you?
Doing good. Are you getting ready for fall weather, hoping for that and some leaf changes in the next month or so?
We're actually having the fall weather, I'd say already. A little taste of it right now.
Oh, very cool. That's nice, isn't it? Like a little refreshing. Is it? Yeah, that's good.
It is.
Awesome. Awesome. Our next guest on the show, I know Steve will be here soon, but I think Steve's, herding the dogs out there. We've got Jay Ballard. Him and his wife, Angie, own and run Bourbon Barrel Cottages and tours as well. So you can go to their website, bourbonbarrelcottages.com. So welcome, Jay. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Doing great. Did Steve and Karen behave when they came to visit and their dogs?
We had to keep a close eye on them, but they behaved as far as we know.
Yeah, what they don't know is they're all on the podcast and you guys are all on the podcast today so we can find out what really went down on this road trip. I mean, I know bourbon was involved, but yeah, where are you guys situated when it comes to the actual Bourbon Trail? Are you right on it?
We're in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, and we have, I think, 9 distilleries within 30 minutes of us.
Oh,
you can actually smell wild turkey at the cottages sometime if the wind's blowing the right way. But so we feel like we're in the perfect location, the Bourbon Trail, with that many destinations within that 30 minutes that, it's the perfect spot. And then an hour away, you have several others in Maker's Mark, Limestone, all the distilleries in Bardstown. So, yeah. So.
Wow. And then you also do tours, right?
We do. We have 3 vehicles. We have a luxury Sprinter limo, a 10-passenger Mercedes Sprinter, and a Lexus LS sedan for our guests that stay. And then we also do a lot of tours for people that don't stay at the cottages. We go to pick people up in Louisville, Lexington, Bardstown. So all of our tours are private and customized. So we take you where you want to go. You tell us where you want to go, and we try to make it happen.
See, that's what I was saying. I mean, you're on the Bourbon Trail. It's good to have someone take you around, I think. Yeah, it's good. That's a good, safe practice. I want to bring our next guest on the show, which is exciting because Buffalo Trace Distillery is the oldest continuously owned, I hope I'm getting this right, distillery in the country. I mean, we're talking about bourbon heritage. We can't get older, now than Buffalo Trace. We've got Lynn Aubrey joining us. Welcome, Lynn. How are you doing?
Great, thanks. So continuously operating. We've had different owners throughout time, but continuously operating. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you had the same owner, I'd be like,
that
what are you giving them? What's in your bourbon?
Exactly.
Wow. So everyone, you can go to buffalotracedistillery.com. All the links for the websites are in the episode show notes. But yeah, how long have you been working at Buffalo Trace?
So I've been there a little over 2.5 years, getting close to 3 years now. I retired back in 2023 and knew that I was going to be a tour guide years before I was going to retire. So I told my husband, as soon as I retire, I'm going to be a tour guide at Buffalo Trace. So So yeah, that's what I've been doing it now for going on close to 3 years.
Wow, this is cool. And they've been doing some expansion, right?
We did. So we just finished up at the end of 2024, December 2024. We finished up the Sazerac expansion. Sazerac is our parent company. They're out of New Orleans, but they invested $1.2 billion in Buffalo Trace so that we could double production. And we finished that expansion
Wow.
at the end of last year.
Wow. So if it's been the longest continuously operating, right?
Mhm. Right, correct.
Yeah. So what year does it go back to?
1786.
Okay. 10
Yeah,
years after America became America, right?
Yeah.
So 10
Yeah,
years they went, we need some bourbon for this stuff, y'all.
we were still Virginia. We didn't become Kentucky
that's
until
right.
1792. So we've actually been there prior to Kentucky becoming a Commonwealth.
Okay. And so you take people on tours when they come to the distillery. What do they get to? I mean, Steve and Karen, did you get to do that?
We didn't get to take a tour. Yeah, we have before. We didn't get to take the tour with Lynn, but we did get to do the tasting with her.
Well, that's fun. Do tours include tastings, Lynn? This is important.
They do, yeah. So there's several different ways you can do an experience at Buffalo Trace. You can do a tour, and it's depending on which tour it is, an hour to an hour and a half, and then a tasting comes with that. Or if you don't have time to do a tour, we have 6 tasting bars that we have set up on the second floor of the center, and you can just come up and do a tasting. And everything's complimentary. We don't charge for anything. So the tours, the tastings, all of that are free to anybody that wants to come and do them.
And it's a big distillery. I mean, this is the actual one. So the same site as always, right?
Yeah. We're a little over, prior to just some property that they just purchased, we were a little over 400 acres. So I'm not sure what our acreage is now with the new purchases, but we're well over 400 acres.
Okay, so I want to go over to Jay. Jay, how close or far are you from Buffalo Trace, the cottages?
Probably about 25 minutes.
Oh, well.
Yeah, maybe 20, depending upon who's driving. Let's say 25.
Wow. So how long have you had the cottages, the Bourbon Barrel Cottages?
About the same time Lynn started at Buffalo Trace, I guess, because our first one will be open 3 years this October. So, and we just expanded to a total of 7. So things are going well, but we have an event center that should be opening the next couple months. That'll have a kitchen and a bar for meetings and weddings, etc. So, and it's sort of, we eventually want to be like a resort. All the cottages are on 2 acres and have their own hot tub and fire pit. And we have koi ponds with waterfalls throughout the property, a walking trail. And I just built a lake that'll have a water fountain in it. And now we need rain. We had rain on the spring, right? Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
So now we have a drought.
Right. One to the other.
Yeah, so it'll be 3 years in October when we opened the first one. So.
Well, Steve and Karen, you guys are on like 5-6 years? Because you guys opened the bed and breakfast.
Oh,
yeah, for the bed and breakfast.
In September 12th, we will have our 7th anniversary.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
Yeah.
Congrats.
I have to say this. Yeah, you're getting old. Lucky number 7. It's going to be lucky number 7. I'm going to say that. Lucky number 7 is good. That's the thing. Kentucky's been through some weather, and so is Asheville. So I'm hoping things just change up. Everyone drink a lot more bourbon. That helps everybody. I want to go back to about the cottages. Karen, what were they like to stay in? And I want to ask Steve too what he liked about them, because I mean, it was really, I know that you took, Ozzy and Lita, the little Shih Tzus. And yes, that's how I pronounce it, because if you meet them, they're so sweet. I love those little babies, Ozzy and Lita. And yes, named after Ozzy Osbourne. May he rest well and rock it up there. And Lita Ford. Okay, very important musical references here. But being able to find a place where you can take the dogs on the road and then even take them to Buffalo Trace, that's pretty cool. So what was it like?
The property is gorgeous. Everything Jay said, they got like beautiful gardens. Everything's laid out really nice and spacious, comfortable, everything you could want. And then the pet friendly is the bonus, the icing on the cake. Beautiful property.
Steve, what did you like about it?
It's very comfortable, nice views and everything. It's very quiet out there too, because you're pretty much off of you're not really close to the main highway or anything like that. So that's nice. But yeah, it's just so peaceful at night, and hearing all the frogs and all that making their noises and anything else. I think we had like a thunderstorm come through while we were out there. So
we did.
That was kind of cool too, watching lightning and all that.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's really very comfortable.
That was the last time it rained.
Really? My gosh.
Even Karen, go back. Get back in the car. Go back. Go back.
Yeah, the rain tends to follow us.
Yeah.
It's still here.
You get rain,
Blame
and
us
I
for all
get
that.
Nancy and I get tornadoes. But anyway, yeah, it's
Oh,
always
no.
a joy with this weather. But Jay, this comfort that they're talking about and being in peace and tranquility, is that part of why you picked the property to do this?
It
Yeah,
is.
that
Well,
you
it's
think
actually
you-
the back part of our property. We own about 40 acres and we live on a house up on top of the hill that joins another highway or road. And then the entrance to the cottages is on a road that comes in the back of the property. So, but, I just retired from medical sales about 3 years ago. So our first idea was to have a property where people, a little older that want to rent and not take care of their yard or anything, we would do that. But then I was like, we're right in the middle of the Bourbon Trail. And I don't know why. I grew up in Loretto where Maker's Mark is at. My grandmother was one of the first hired there in the 50s, and she was a Dant from the J.W. Dant family, so I should have been thinking bourbon anyway. So it just popped in our head, and I was like, why don't we do this? I mean, it's a pretty safe business plan because if it didn't work out, you could always rent them or sell them. So I'm not a big gambler, so I felt pretty safe that it would be successful, and it's went way beyond our expectations the first 2.5 years.
And then doing the
That's awesome.
tours is like really a whole other thing to add into it.
We want to be, I'm afraid to do it, but I would like to be the first all-inclusive property on the Bourbon Trails when we get the event center because it'll have a kitchen and bar and everything. But like I just said, I'm not a gambler, and that makes me a little nervous to take that step. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's step 1, step 2, I think it sounds beautiful and looks on your website, it looks gorgeous. Now, do you like bourbon? This is a question that has to be asked.
I do. All bourbon's not equal, but I do. I have my favorites. But I do.
Well, that's good. It's because you better like it since you're there doing all of this, you know. So, Lynn, tell us a little bit about when Buffalo Trace, can the history, a little bit of that, because I know you're taking the tours, right? So you're giving some of the background because with it being the oldest continuously operating bourbon distillery in the country,
Right.
right?
Yep,
In the
correct.
country. Okay. Can I get hired? But I would be fired pretty quickly because I know put my hand in the cookie jar way too quick there. But yeah, a little history of how it got started.
Sure. So, back then, back in the late 1700s, we were part of Virginia and we were undeveloped land. And the Virginia governor was sending expedition and survey teams to this area to see if it's something that he's interested in, right? So the way we don't have roads to travel on back then. So the way that these explorers are getting to our locations, they're actually following the herds of millions of buffalo that are also migrating to this location. And then when they get to our particular area, where the Kentucky River runs right by our distillery. And so they have to figure out how to get across the river because since we sit on one of the world's largest limestone aquifers in Kentucky, most of the banks of the river are limestone cliffs. So there's not a lot of safe places you can cross. But right there at our distillery location, there's a bend in the river. And in that bend, the sand and the silt would build up and it would get shallow. And that's where the buffalo would cross. It became known as the Great Buffalo Crossing. So the buffalo are crossing the river. They're coming through our property, truly carving out the roads that the travelers, the explorers are going to follow on. A lot of the roads in Kentucky that are built today are actually based on the trails that those buffalo were making. Now, we call them trails, but the Native Americans would call them traces, buffalo traces. We had a major trace that ran through our property. And so in 1775, a couple of brothers by the name of Willis and Hancock Lee are following the buffalo and they get to our location and they like it there because we've got the Kentucky River. So we have water, we've got transportation. We've got fertile soil in Kentucky. We've got hot and humid summers. It's great with growing things like corn. So they decide they're going to settle there and they call it Leestown Settlement because their last name is Lee. And most of the people that live at Leestown are Irish and Scottish. So the first thing, of course, they're going to do is they're going to get their still going and they start making whiskey. So we actually have receipts that date back to 1786 showing that we were making whiskey and selling whiskey. And we can track that continuous operation all the way to current day. And it goes through several renditions of distilleries. 1869 is when Taylor actually buys the distillery and builds the first modern distillery there. He calls it old-fired copper. He ends up actually going bankrupt after a few years, and George T. Stagg comes in and actually buys the distillery. And so he and Taylor are partners for a few years. They don't really get along very well. So they part ways in 1886, and then the distillery is renamed the George T. Stagg Distillery in 1904.
This is fascinating history, and and I want people to know to go on the website too, because you've got so much information on how it is all done. But you really do, interpret the history well on BuffaloTraceDistillery.com of all the different people, the different craftsmen that were part of this.
Sure. Yeah, lots of famous names in our history, and a lot of our products are named after the people that are in our history. But so, during Prohibition, we have a medicinal whiskey license. We're one of 4 distilleries that actually house and produce medicinal whiskey during Prohibition. And that's how we keep our doors open during that time period. And then we have a major expansion after Prohibition. Albert Blanton's our president by that time. And he takes us from actually 14 buildings to 114 buildings in just 20 years, 1933 to 1953. So huge expansion. Wow. And then we stay the George T. Stagg Distillery actually all the way until we are rebranded Buffalo Trace. But it's in 1999. I'm sorry, that's when we rebranded Buffalo Trace. 1992 is when Sazerac actually buys the distillery. And then they rebrand us Buffalo Trace in 1999. And we've had several different owners throughout our history and several different names, but always continuously making whiskey or bourbon in that location.
Wow. That's a good name too, Buffalo Trace.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It really is. And it goes back to the ancient times, I love that. I love the name. And then also when you go on the website, you can craft your perfect bourbon, everyone. I encourage you to do that. It's fun to do. But yeah, do you get a lot of, when you're doing the tours, do you get a lot of international people that know of Buffalo Trace and want to have that experience?
We get people from all over the world. It's not uncommon for me to have multiple international people within the tours I'm doing in a day. Every country, of course, all over the United States as well, Canada. But yeah, just Switzerland, just everywhere. People come from all over the world to come visit Buffalo Trace.
Wow. So, Jade, are you seeing the same thing of international visitors coming through?
We are. I mean, several different continents and countries and same exact experience. So I think a huge compliment, we had someone posted on social media a couple weeks ago that we're starting to become a sought out destination. So yeah, we're excited when those groups come in. I know a couple weeks ago we had people from Chile, Australia, and I believe China all on the same weekend.
Wow.
Yeah. So
wow. And I interviewed a couple once. They wrote a book about how to do negotiations in China. And you have to be able to stay up all night doing shots and drinking. And I thought that was like, well, that's not a problem. No, it is. It's like they're serious. They love their whiskeys and they will. Yeah. They really, really do. And that was how they negotiated major contracts, was sitting and doing a lot of drinking. So I think them coming over and looking, that makes sense, And also the Bourbon Trail is really popular, but I think a lot of times people just think it's Bardstown. That's where all the bourbon. So it's a little bit more than that, right, Jay?
Oh, yeah. I mean, actually, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard it several times that the Kentucky Bourbon Festival was offered to Lawrenceburg not once but twice, and they turned it down, which, if that's true, was a huge mistake.
Wow.
Yeah, so like I said, I think it's true because I've heard it too many times from people that should probably know, but yeah, no, I think, and I'm not 100% positive, but I think before Prohibition, Anderson County had 12 distilleries, and most of them were along the river.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, yeah, I mean, most of them are non-existent any longer, but, you can still, if you know where they were, you could find their foundations and stuff. But yeah, it played a big part back in the early days and still does today, I mean, the places we tour mostly are Frankfort and Lawrenceburg, so. But yeah.
Going over to you, Lynn, how big is the Bourbon Trail? Do you know?
I don't know. We're not on the Bourbon Trail.
What?
No, we're not.
No.
Bourbon Trace isn't on the Bourbon Trail. But I don't know how many total distilleries, because I think they've split it up into 2 different categories now: craft distilleries and your bigger distilleries. So I think there's actually kind of like 2 trails, and I could be wrong about that. But it just keeps growing, especially as we get more of these smaller craft distilleries popping up all over the place. That Bourbon Trail just keeps growing and growing every year.
Well, that's, I think it's fun, for folks. And I know Nancy and I did it a few years back, parts of it, and it was, there was a huge storm. Something like that was happening, and we didn't get to go and do everything we wanted to do. But it was it's so beautiful just even driving around. Kentucky
It is.
absolutely one of the most beautiful states, and all the horses. I mean, horses and bourbon, it's beautiful. Karen, so you guys go to Kentucky a lot and do you add a new distillery each time you guys go?
Yeah, we try to. Exactly. So we'll do like something, we revisit something we've done, and we tend to go back to Buffalo Trace every time. It is one of our favorites, and it is dog friendly. But yeah, we try to do a different one each time we go, and we usually seem to go once or twice a year.
Now, Steve, you guys went to Buffalo Trace, of course, Woodford Reserve, Wild Turkey, and Preservation Distillery. So that was all this trip. So Preservation, we know Wild Turkey, and we know that's just down the road from the Bourbon Barrel Cottages, but Preservation Distillery, what was that like?
It's a really nice property. I mean, it's rather small. I mean, it's just a little small building, a little small operation. They have an area where you can go sit out in the gazebo and enjoy a cocktail while you're looking over at their longhorn cattle they got out there. So that was kind of cool. I know when we took the dogs over by the fences, the cows were very interested in the little dogs, and they came all the way to the fence just to check them out.
Yeah.
Listen, you know what? We had a Great Dane who got chased by a little Maltese poodle. So you never know what can happen with little dogs. Things can happen, and then you go, "Oh, it's time for another bourbon." But now, Karen, you guys went to Woodford as well. Woodford Reserve, was that also dog friendly? All of these distilleries dog friendly?
So Woodford Reserve does not allow dogs in the buildings or on the tours, but they have a nice outdoor patio area, so they're allowed out there. So we'll take them there. Wild Turkey is the same, where they can't go on the tours, but they have a nice outdoor space with a beautiful view. There's ways you can make the Bourbon Trail dog friendly. A lot of people have that question, and there's not a lot of information about it out there.
Yeah, no, I think it's cool to see what is, dog friendly. And then Jay, for you guys, that had to be a decision to make to whether or not be pet friendly.
It was, and we're huge animal lovers, but there was the concern that, what would happen because all dogs aren't equal. Some are huge, some are small, but knock on wood, we haven't had any issues at all. The only thing we ask is that if you have them outside, to keep them on a leash and clean up after them. So it's no complaints from us.
That's cool. That's cool. And I think what's great about it is so many people do travel with their animals, and if they are, then the dogs are used to it. Like they've been trained to be able to do that kind of thing. There's that communication. And so, Lynn, they're allowed at Buffalo Trace, right? And in certain places, maybe not on the tour.
No, we have 3 different tours, but our Trace tour, which I call it the barrel to bottle side of the distillery. So, where they're receiving barrels and filling barrels, dumping barrels, dogs are allowed on that tour.
Yeah.
There's 2 areas on the tour that the dogs can't go into just because of the open alcohol and food safety types things. So we do allow dogs on the Trace tour. Now, the other 2 tours, dogs can't go on them. And it's about, open fermentation and that kind of thing, and having But we allow them in all of our buildings. We allow them on the Trace tour, obviously on the property. They can, take them, you can pretty much take them anywhere on the property that any person could travel. So we are extremely dog friendly there. We all love the dogs so much. There's even an page out there dedicated to the dogs of Buffalo Trace, where one of the employees posts pictures of dogs that come there because they're always so cute. But yes, dogs come do a Trace tour. We love it. It's amazing.
Well, listen, back in the day of, moonshining and stuff, dogs were the watch keepers of being able to get it done by the light of the moon. And the dogs were watching out for anybody that might do a sneak attack.
They've been involved for a long time.
Yeah. Dogs are all part of it. Come on now. This is part of the history of bourbon. There's no bourbon without dogs. No. I was gonna ask each of you. This is such a cool area to explore. And then Mammoth Caves isn't so far away. I mean, nothing's far away as far as Nancy and I are concerned. But There's just so much to do in Kentucky. It's a beautiful state, so much history as well, and horses. Just saying. But I wanted to close off here with each of you kind of giving like the perfect day on the Bourbon Trail, or not on the, listen, since Buffalo Trace is not on the Bourbon Trail, you can get off the trail to Bourbon. Excuse me, you rebels. But anyway, a perfect day in Bourbon country. That's what I'm going to say. Okay. Because to me, that I consider the whole state Bourbon country. So let's start with you, Lynn. What is your perfect day to give visitors an idea of what they can experience, maybe at Buffalo Trace, where to eat, all that kind of like a fun day in your area?
So obviously starting at Buffalo Trace, we've got to come there and do a tour. I always recommend, if possible, come Monday through Friday. I know it doesn't always work out for everybody. On the weekends, it's great, but we don't do production on the weekends. So if you come during the week and we're doing a tour, then you're going to really get to see the operation in action. So you'll get to see barrels rolling and barrels being filled. So if there's any way to swing it during the week, definitely do that. And then after you visit us, there's lots of great distilleries in our area, tons to see, but we have a great downtown area in Frankfort, great bars and restaurants. We have a really nice bourbon bar called House of Commons, a bourbon library. Dave does a great job there. We have a really nice wine bar downtown called Capitol Cellars, some really great restaurants, locally owned stuff. So, it's not all chain stuff. We got a lot of locally owned farm to table type restaurants in downtown. We sit on the banks of the river, so there's lots of places that you can go and just walk and see the river and great views. So yeah, always something fun to do in downtown. I'll point out too, we talked about the Bourbon Festival that is in Bardstown, but we have our Bourbon on the Banks is coming up. We have a Bourbon Festival in Frankfort now, and I think we're going on maybe 5 years for it now. It's the first Saturday in October. So I know there's still some tickets out there available for that. If anybody's going to be in town or in the area during that time, it is a great bourbon festival, and it just keeps getting bigger every single year.
I like this.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, you guys got to come back down for it. It is so much fun.
I know.
And then
I would
you got
love
to take
to.
the rain. Take the rain.
Yeah, maybe not on that day. Not on that day.
Can have it.
Yeah, but not on that day, right?
Not on that
Exactly.
day.
Jay, for you, what would be a perfect day in Bourbon country?
Well, I will. Can I have 2 days?
Sure, because they have to stay overnight. They have to stay overnight.
Visiting the trail or Buffalo Trace. I got to correct myself there. Sorry. And there's 58 distilleries on the trail. I looked it up.
There you go.
Doing bourbon tours September, October, November because of it's cooler then, but it's also very busy. But doing that on a Friday in the fall weather, having a private chef meal prepared at Bourbon Barrel Cottages, and get up the next morning and go to Keeneland at the horse track, and then go to a football game Saturday night. That'd be the perfect week.
That's a big day.
I feel like, okay, what's for food? Because Kentucky, you guys got swine in because they had to eat up the mess from all the distilleries, I believe, in history, isn't it? That's how Kentucky ended up with pigs and making the best barbecues, because the pigs ate the runoff from the distilleries, from what I've heard, from a professor of bourbonology.
I've learned something new.
I knew farmers used to take it to their cows, or still do, but I've never heard pigs, but it makes sense.
Yeah,
that's how pigs came to Kentucky. Yeah, because it would get all these puddles and flooding, and so they're like, one dude was like, dude, well, over in this country, I think it was in Scotland. In Scotland, we let the pigs eat the stuff, whatever it's called, the spent stuff. And so they like, bring the pigs. And now we got, bourbon and barbecue. So I'm just saying, Jay, everything you were running around and doing just makes me think like food needs to be involved, Jay. I mean, I know you got the chef. So you start off with a private chef at the cottages, but are there good barbecue? Is it barbecue that people should be going for?
You know what? There are good barbecue places around, but most of the time, people that don't stay or do a private dining experience at the cottages, a lot of time they will go to Lexington to Jeff Ruby's or Tony's. If they don't go there, I know we try to keep them locally or send them to Frankfort, but it all depends on where they end their day, to be honest. So we like the smaller, more quainty places, the unknown places, So that's where we try to direct people. And I guess the stave is a big one for people on the Bourbon Trail.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but lots of different options out there.
Now, Steve, I'm going to you. The perfect bourbon country day. because I know you guys have done a lot,
Mhm.
and then Karen's going to close it off here. Take a composite. That's a big word right now. Of all your experiences, and give us a perfect day or weekend, whatever you want to do.
Oh, we got to stop at the old Bardstown Tavern down, that super old tavern down there, and pick up some of their homemade bourbon balls for Karen, so she can have them with her bourbon. And then just go check out some of the trail, unless maybe you can run down to Bowling Green real fast before you start doing the bourbon. Check out the Corvette Museum.
Well, that's right. That's what we talked about last year. Was it last year? Yeah, the Corvette
last year.
Museum. Yeah, you got to do, and there's always something new there. So yeah, so Corvette Museum. Okay, we got bourbon balls, Corvettes, and then bourbon. Right? That's your thing.
Yep. That's probably the best order.
Any food in there other than bourbon balls?
You know what?
You just wanted to make me say that, didn't you? I know you.
Yeah, like Jay was saying. I mean, go down to downtown Lexington, find some place good to eat, or even Frankfurt.
Man, Lexington is so historic as a city too. Just yeah, I got more things to do in Kentucky, that's for sure. Nancy and I, every time I go through Kentucky, I'm like, we need to go. We need to like spend time and really, cover the area. So let's go to you, Karen. You've had the bourbon balls already, so you can't double up on that.
Well, I'll say what we probably do every time we're there. We do a couple of different distilleries. One we've done, or two we've done, and then a new one. And then as far as something to eat, we look for something like a small local kind of place because that's what we like to. We don't like the chains or that. I always keep an eye out for something that's related to beer cheese because Kentucky is known for the beer cheese.
Wait a minute. Beer cheese? I don't know anything about beer cheese, but I'm all in. It's got cheese. It's got beer.
You know what you're missing.
So they're putting beer in the cheese?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
It's delicious.
Oh, I bet.
It is.
Yep.
And I eat beer with a side of beer. I mean, I eat cheese with a side of beer. I'll get this straight. Who needs bourbon now? Yeah, no, really. Oh my
How many beers have you had?
I am having a glass of wine, but apparently I just decided to take myself out and say, listen, you obviously should be drinking bourbon or beer and not this wine. Yeah, like really, that's good stuff.
You have to try it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds really good. Okay, so
but then of course we end the day, like in the cottages there, just kicking back, relaxing, sitting by the fire pit. Unfortunately, when we were there, we didn't get to use the hot tub, but something like that is just the end of a perfect day.
That sounds good. Hot tub sounds good. Yeah. Well, everyone, thank you so much. So much fun to hear all about Bourbon Country. I'm not going to say the trail anymore. Sorry, but go to bourbonbarrelcottages.com, buffalotracedistillery.com, and lion-rose.com. Steve and Karen are here every first Tuesday of the month with new shows about adventures in Asheville, but they like to adventure out and connect out to places like Bourbon Country in Kentucky. Thank you, Jay, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Lynn. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you both.
Yeah,
I think I need to elevate from wine to bourbon now. All right, since it'll make more sense to everybody. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Big Blend's Road Trip Radio Show. Keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. And for travel articles, road trip articles, go to blendradioandtv.com and nationalparktraveling.com. Happy travels!